Hello, 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 good people. This is your guy, Mr. Educator, Mr. Communicator, Mr. Free Thinker, coming back at you live once again from the Lone Star State with another episode of the Media Mike Speaks and today's top story, as you saw in the headlines. But we're going to talk about it because it discusses African American women filing bankruptcy. And the question is, I would like to know is why, which we're going to hopefully try to address pretty much in this video. So, the title, as you see, Black women are filing bankruptcy amid the pandemic at alarming rates, and this is from Yahoo Finance. And it's also coming from Upsolve, which we will talk about. So let's get to it. It reads, the pandemic-induced recession has led to a notable amount of African American women to declare bankruptcy, according to a report by nonprofit bankruptcy startup Upsolve, which is an online legal aid agency providing Chapter 7 bankruptcy assistance. I didn't know that. I looked them up, and they help individuals to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which we will talk about in a minute. Now, the report came from a bankruptcy questionnaire of 17,000 low-income users. Now, when we're talking about low-income users, we're most likely talking about low-income wage earners. Now, over the past year, and found that COVID-19 has pushed many to seek bankruptcy protection. Now, according to Upsolve, they're saying this is exactly right. African American people are overrepresented in bankruptcy, and also African American women are especially overrepresented in bankruptcy court. So this is coming from Robert Lawless, who is a consumer bankruptcy expert and a professor at the University of Illinois, and this is what he told Yahoo Finance. Okay, now Upsolve is this agency that they help individuals file paperwork and applications for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, noted as particularly sharp increase among African American users who cited the coronavirus as the reason for filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Wow. Now, coronavirus has been going on, good people, as you all know, going on about 2 years. Now, they've come out with the so-called vaccine, which has been up and down. I don't know. So, anyway, this is something that's really curious to me, and I didn't know that this was going on, especially among low-wage income earners, among African American women. Now, I wonder what's it like with those African American women who make more money than this, because I would think this would be more toward African American women or African Americans who make above the so-called poverty line. And these are some, I would say, some alarming statistics. So the company stressed that users generally file for bankruptcy only after exhausting all other options, including cutting back on necessities, selling or pawning possessions, and avoiding necessary medical care. Now, we've had a few stimulus checks go out. I'm not saying that that's the end-all be-all to one's financial woes, but I guess maybe due to loss of employment as such, because a lot of women, not just African American women, but women do work from the low income status, working entry level jobs. So that could primarily be a reason. And when the COVID hit and they began to lay people off, or a lot of people lost their jobs, most likely it had a tremendous effect. Now, it also discusses structural racism in society and in bankruptcy court. Now, I'm curious about that because I haven't done the research on that. So I would like to do more research on why is it saying structural racism in society, and why is it also in bankruptcy court. Now, it lists here there are a couple of reasons for the uptick in filings. First, it says many African American workers are in jobs that don't allow for remote work, consequently putting them at risk if they were to continue in-person employment amid the pandemic. Okay, we talked about some of those entry-level positions. I could see that. According to one analysis of work schedules between 2017 and 2018 by the left-leaning think tank Economic Policy Institute, only around 20% of African American workers are able to work remotely, as compared to 30% of Caucasian employees and 37% of Asian employees. Wow. Most of the African American users on Upsolve were struggling financially across the board. A survey of 7,100 users found that the average amount in African American users' checking accounts was $257. Now, I find that very hard to believe. I'm not saying it is not true. Okay. That's all you have. As compared to Caucasian users with $343 in their checking account. Okay, I would like to know really where they get these stats from. And they only had an average of $205 in their savings account. So we're talking a little bit over $500. Close to, rounded out, close to $500. Okay, let's talk about structural racism. Now, I think according to this attorney, he's saying that first of all, there's structural racism in society and in bankruptcy court. He explained the income gaps, the wealth gaps, those problems cause people to end up in bankruptcy court. I just really never knew that a lot of low income people would file Chapter 7, because you usually find this people, I would say wealthy people, I would say, or people that made money above the poverty line who overspent. Things happen and they wind up going to bankruptcy court. But it does happen. I'm not saying it totally does. It's just that this just baffled me on this level. And this is a very interesting topic because I did not know this. So I'm bringing it to you all's attention. Please leave your comments in the comment section. So, I mean, this is something. No, according to the attorney Lawless, he noted that in the past, African Americans have been pushed into Chapter 13 rather than Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which carry more protections for debtors. So, okay, now for those of you who may want to know, the difference between Chapter 7, Chapter 11, and Chapter 13 is that Chapter 7, the biggest difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 is that Chapter 7 focuses on discharging or getting rid of unsecured debt, such as credit cards, personal loans, and medical bills. While Chapter 13 allows you to catch up on secured debts like your home or your car, while also discharging unsecured debts. Now, Chapter 11 is totally different because you're talking about if you own a business. That involves reorganization. So then you're going to have, debts, assets, and for that reason it's known as, you're restructuring the organization. So that's Chapter 11. But 7 and 13, it's a little different. So as once again, 7 focuses on discharging or getting rid of your unsecured debt, such as your credit cards, personal loans, and medical bills. And 13, if you have a car or home, that's different. So if you noticed, if you haven't heard, in the housing market crash, we went through our second one, I do believe, and a lot of people filed Chapter 13. So anyway, let's continue. According to the Upsolve, African American female users, they noted loss of wages as the reason for filing for bankruptcy. According to the company, the trend is corroborated by Lawless research, according to this attorney. So, but the gap has widened over the months, comparing the rate of increase in users on the platform. As of January 2021, about 50% of African American women said that their main reason for filing bankruptcy was due to the COVID-19, which is a 137.4% increase since April of 2020, according to the Upsolve. Wow. In contrast, only 34.2% of Caucasian women have cited COVID-19 as their reason for filing for bankruptcy. Well, it could be different reasons there. It could be because if you are married and your husband was not affected that much, then you have the help. I'm not saying these African American women were not married, but I don't know. They may not have been. So a single parent, low income wage earner, that could be tough, especially on an African American woman. That really could be tough. So now I'm curious to know, what are these women going to do? or where are they going to go? It doesn't look good according to the article and statistics. Now, good people, check out my video, Where Will You Be in 2024? The Jobs There Will Be No More. So I'll put the link also to the channel and also to the link to that video, because something to think about. Now, I do know that Goldman and Sachs has pledged $10 billion over the next 10 years to help African American women. Now, I have yet to see how they are going to do that and who specifically does it apply to, because there are different classes of African American women, or women period, but as discussed earlier, we're talking low income African American women versus those with degrees versus those with middle of the road earners and high earners. So they didn't really discuss yet how they're going to help. Will be divided up among the African American women, because it could be that those who benefit less from this could be the low wage earners of African American women. I don't know, or could not, but I don't know. But be that as it may, we'll see how this plays. All right, good people. Sad to say, but that's it for today. And remember, if you had or have a bad day, try to stay out of bankruptcy court so that you can be okay. This is your guy, Mr. Educated, Mr. Communicated, Mr. Free Thinker. Subscribe, share, and like so that I can keep rocking on the mic. And you all